Great. So again, thank you very much for joining. It's a pleasure to have you all today for this webinar about the Reimagine Learning and Education in Our Communities Challenge launched by Sheridan College. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Greg. I'm a communication manager at Agorize, and I'm in charge of the communication side on that project. So Agorize is the platform hosting the challenge. So this is where you can find all the information, all the different resources where you can team up with other people and also submit your projects. So all the platform is hosted by Agorize. But then all the content on that platform is provided by Sheridan College. And as we're going to see in a minute, we're very lucky to have with us today Mr. John Helliker, which is going to introduce himself in a second. So yeah, again, a few ground rules for today's session. It's great if you can send some like a very brief message of introduction of yourselves so that we know who's on the call and we can use the information to start off the discussion at the end during the Q&A section. So again, we're going to present the context of the challenge. We're going to have so John presenting the different aspects of it, speaking about the different aspects of the submissions as well and the projects. And so in 25 to 30 minutes, we will start the Q&A part of the webinar. In that part, you will have the opportunity to ask all the questions you want to so John, Lisa here, who's project manager at Agorize as well, and to myself. So feel free to ask all the technical related questions or the questions on the challenge. We'll be very happy to answer all of them. So you can either write them directly on the chat and I will address them at the end of the session, or feel free to keep them and unmute yourself during the Q&A part of the session. All right, so now just before giving the floor to John here, I want to do a very quick poll just to know what are your status regarding the competition. So you should be able to vote right now just with one click to say if you're already participating in the challenge and you've already submitted your project, if you're participating but you have not submitted your project just yet, or if you're simply interested in the challenge and in the different topics involved. So I'll leave this poll open for like 40 more seconds. And then we will move on to the presentation. So, all right, I can already see some votes. So I'll just leave 5 seconds. I can see that 4 people did not answer just yet. Okay, great. 2 more people, so I'll leave 10 more seconds. All right, so I can see that most of you right now, I'm going to share the results in a second, are already participating, but you have not submitted your project just yet, which is perfect. So, okay, now it's done. I'm going to share the results. So 6 of you are participating, but you've not submitted your projects just yet. So actually, it's great that you've joined us today because it's the perfect opportunity, as I said previously, to ask all the questions you might have and clarify all the different points and make sure that your presentation is going to be exactly what Sheridan is looking for. So thank you so much for participating in this quick poll. And now I leave the floor to John.
Thank you very much, Greg. So I'm going to provide an overview of the challenge and also get into the specifics of the presentation that we're asking you to submit at the end of this stage. And I want to be as practical as possible. So, you know, as Greg said, please put any questions you have into the chat, and then we'll try to address those questions at the end of this session when we'll have a question and answer period. So I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to attempt to share my screen here.
Sure. And just a quick point, maybe you could briefly introduce yourself as well, because I did not do it at the beginning of the session, just so that all the attendees can know what you do at Sheridan.
Sure. So I'm Dean of Innovation at Sheridan. I work in the research area. So I work actually with a variety of research and entrepreneurship centers at Sheridan across social, cultural, and technological areas. But I'm also involved with a cross-institution initiative that was started about 9 months ago, which is really looking at how to transform Sheridan and how we can learn from our communities and also from others who are involved in teaching and learning as we go through a transformation process and try to figure out how best to serve the 21st century needs students and faculty and staff at Sheridan, but more directly also the communities that we serve. And those communities can be local, national, and international, but really trying to focus on that institution community relationship. So that's the context for a lot of the work that has been done on the challenge. And as I said, I'll work on sharing this. So does everyone see my slide here?
Yep, we can see it.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so as I said, what I'm going to try and do here is be as practical as possible with the presentation for the 15 minutes and then afterwards. But as part of that, I really need to provide a context for the challenge. What the background is and what our intent is with this challenge, because it will also inform the approach that you take to your submission. So the challenge is really part of a recognition by Sheridan that there needs to be a transformation of teaching and learning and education to better meet the needs of people throughout the country. So I'm going to get into the actual submission, as I said, so that you can understand as a participant what it is that we're really asking for when you're developing your solution. So as general background, the challenge is based on the belief that education and learning in Canada are not addressing the needs of the population as a whole. There are some groups that are marginalized, as a result of race or gender, socioeconomic situation, age, abilities, or other factors. In addition to this, the educational and learning channels and the institutions across the country are also not necessarily meeting the needs of broader groups within the country based on a variety of factors. It could be the things that people are learning. It could be the way that education and learning are being delivered. So broadly speaking, we're asking you to explore the area of teaching and learning so that you can generate solutions that can help address these types of problems. That's a key part of what we're trying to achieve through the challenge. And those of you who are part of the challenge will recognize that there actually was a stage before this, which is the inspiration and research stage, when people were asked to really look at their communities and understand the problems that are specific to the areas that they're examining. But for the sake of ideation, we're looking at this is the first part of the ideation stage, and then the next stage will be the iteration part of ideation and a final event in June. So at the end of this stage, the ideation stage on March 31st, there will be a jury that examines the presentations that have been made, and there will be a selection of 25 submissions that will go on to the iteration stage. During the iteration stage, you will be further developing those solutions. There will be mentors that will help you to do that. And at the end of that stage, there will be 10 submissions that are selected to go on to the final event. And the final event is a live event that will have judges and also a public audience to watch and participate in. But at that point, there will be a selection of winners, and those winners have an opportunity to share in over $50,000 in prizes. So there are 5 $10,000 prizes that are being awarded generally, and there also is a $2,500 prize that has been donated by a local organization within Sheridan's community, which is specifically to a team that has all Sheridan student participants. But overall, there are there's the $50,000 in prizes that are shared among 5 teams. As far as the process, some of you are already engaged in this. What we're asking people to do is to form teams of 2 to 5, and based on that, to address the challenge and develop solutions that will be presented in a common format. So we do have a presentation template on the site. This is to enable people to be responding to questions in different categories of the presentation, and it'll allow for judges to be able to more effectively evaluate projects that are across different types of solutions. So if we look at the challenge itself, the challenge question really helps you understand what the problem and what the solution is that we're asking you to address here. So it is very broad, but it gives you that context that I think is really important to understand. So how might we collaborate within our communities to reimagine learning and education so that no one is left behind and all youth and adults can realize their full potential? So let's break that down. Okay, so first, what's the problem that you need to address here? Okay, whatever your solution is, it should be focused on that problem. And the words after "so that" are really the key here, obviously. So we're really asking you to address a problem. So we are saying that there's a problem that is in our communities, that some people are being left behind and some people are not being able to realize their full potential. So it's important for you to be focusing on that within the problem identification that you come to within your view of the challenge. So we're asking you to address the needs of people who aren't currently getting access or aren't getting the right types of learning and education in order for them to be able to realize their full potential, or in order to realize that, in order to ensure they're not left behind. So you've got the problem that's been identified, and the solution has to include teaching and learning, and it's also got to engage with the community. So those are the types of general approaches that you can think of with your solution that you're identifying. The UN Sustainable Development Goals are fundamental to this. So if you think of the terminology, no one is left behind, leave no one behind is a fundamental promise of the Sustainable Development Goals. It represents the commitment of the countries countries throughout the world that have signed on with the SDGs to eradicate poverty, to end discrimination and exclusion, and to reduce the inequalities and the vulnerabilities that leave people behind and that undermine the potential that people can realize. So you can see that this is really connected to the SDGs, to the Sustainable Development Goals. And that becomes really important too, because part of leaving no one behind for the UN Sustainable Development Goals is identifying who are we talking about here? Who's being left behind and why? And what are the steps that you're going to take in order to ensure that particular group of people is able to through education and learning realize their full potential and not be left behind. So looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goals can be a critical part of a starting point for what you're doing and thinking about what your impact is. So if you look at them, look at goal 4, okay? That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about goal 4, quality education for everyone, being able to impact people's lives in other areas. So that could be, if you look at goal 5 in terms of gender equality, it could be teaching and learning that helps people to ensure that and communities to ensure that people aren't being left behind because of gender. It could be education that's helping in terms of goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Are people missing out on decent work because they don't have the teaching and learning that they should? So if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals and keep them in mind as you're working through your solution, then you're going to be able to address the questions that are on the template a lot more deeply. So it can really help in terms of your submission. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go through the questions and the categories of statements that are raised within the template. So this is actually the template that some of you would have seen. That's from the site, and this is what you have to address. The next few slides are what you have to address as you're preparing your submission for March 31st. So if you think of it from the standpoint of the challenge question, as I mentioned, the challenge question as it is quite broad intentionally. So your opportunity here is to be able to identify what segment of the population you're talking about here. who are you going to identify in terms of their age, race, geography, socioeconomic situation, gender? Who is it that you're solving for? Okay, and it could be part of a community, or it could be more general. It could be you're looking at in general the opportunity to provide different solutions for youth of a certain age, or seniors, or people who have lost their job and need to find new ways of engaging in work and lives. So it really is up to you to determine who that group is, and you need to identify them. So that's a part of the challenge. You need to identify them, but you also need to look at it from the standpoint of what is the challenge for them? Why are they being left behind? Why are they not able to realize their full potential? So if you look at it that way, you hone in on the group that you want to have impact on, and you also hone in on the challenge that they have that you're going to address through your solution. So that's a key to what you're doing. As you move forward, that's going to evolve. Like you're going to talk to your team members, you're going to have conversations, and you're going to go in certain directions maybe, and then you're going to realize there's other opportunities here. But you need to keep that in mind as you move forward. The exploration of the challenge, and again, you've got to address these questions. This is based largely on the fact that the approach that we've adopted with this project is called human-centered design. So it means that when you're developing a solution for a community, for a group of people, you need to engage with them. You need to understand their needs. It can't be from afar, from a distance, looking at, oh, I think that's what they need. It's got to be, there's a phrase, nothing about us without us. So it's really in some way finding a way to ensure that you're meeting the needs of a particular group that you've decided to respond to in terms of a solution. So that could be, at this point, it could be secondary research that you're doing, reading about a particular community, a group of people. It could be your own lived experience. It could be people that you know. But try and draw in the research you've done, the learning that you've acquired about that particular group, as well as how you've identified their particular problem. And if you can, try and identify what the root cause of it is. Why is it that they're not getting the education and learning that they require? Why are they not being enabled to move ahead and realize their full potential along with others? So at that point, you can start to really look at your solution from a broad, higher level. So you want to identify the way that your solution is actually going to address the needs of the people that you've now decided that you're going to work to address during your the time that you're creating a solution. So you really, at this point, again, have to make sure that the project that you're developing is addressing the needs of those people that you've identified, and the problem that you've identified that is stopping them from being able to realize their full potential. And a key part of this here is show us that you've done some research also to understand and possibly learn from what others have done. Like if there are other solutions out there that are similar, it's helpful to see what's good about them, and maybe what you're doing that's a little different, and being able to reference that, because you can learn from others. I mean, a key part of this area, which we'd refer to as social innovation, a key part of this is it's not like an individual company that is trying to develop a unique product, and they want to have all of the knowledge about that, and they don't want to share it. Within social innovation, where we're trying to change the world, where we're trying to make life better for people, there are a lot of solutions out there that you can learn from, that people are sharing the information about, that ultimately people can look at your solution and learn from it. So that's a key part of seeing what others are doing and learning from them, and recognizing that, and trying to develop something innovative from that. So moving to the next stage, getting a little more specific, again, building on what I've talked about before, is thinking again about that target group of learners and letting us know what you've learned about them, really identifying how you've learned about them. These are key aspects, because this is part of the process. We want this to be based on human-centered design. So the approach you take should be demonstrated. The approach you take, the process, is as important in some cases as the solution. In a lot of cases, the very process of engaging in trying to develop a solution can mean that you're engaging with different groups that normally aren't part of creating a solution for teaching and learning. So for example, if you find that you're doing that, or if you find that in implementing or further developing your solution, you're going to be engaging with the community, then that's important to tell us, because that shows us, that demonstrates that you're actually engaging in this in a way that is focused on meeting the real needs of the learner. As far as this slide and what it's asking for, it's important for you to start to get very specific about what your steps are. We'll get more into that in a later slide, but the initial part of that is identifying how you're going to address the solution. Like, do you need partners? If so, who are those partners? Do you need to partner with a post-secondary institution or a high school or a nonprofit? Do you have certain resources that are required? If you don't, as a team right now, if you don't have the resources, the team members, the knowledge of technology or the knowledge of certain areas, those are resources that you're going to require. So to be able to identify how you're intending to move forward as a project, or in some cases as a venture. I mean, some of the people who are participating will probably have some background in entrepreneurship. If you're intending to start something that's a social enterprise, that's an organization that has a social purpose, but also has some revenue generation associated with that, then it's important to identify that too, because that's a specific approach to organizing your solution moving forward. And if you're thinking about that, then it's important to identify it. But in general, in this case, just look at ways that you can identify what are the activities you need to do, what are the resources that you require, and what are who are the partners that you need, and what's the value and impact you're going to have. This is a general way of looking at your project. And I mentioned, or we mentioned, the social business model canvas. If you search for that, you can find a diagram, like a schematic that has those different areas and some others. There's also resources that are on the website. There's a self-help and facilitators guide that's in the resources section of the website. So that could also be very helpful. It will outline some of the ways that you can address the information, acquiring the information that we're requesting that you supply as part of your submission. To the next step, moving to the next step with the implementation stage, it's important for you to implementation plan. It's important that you start to think about the step-by-step. So you've decided on what the activities are going to be and who your partners and resources are, but what are the next few steps for you? You're going to go into an iteration stage where you're going to be able to further develop this. But at this point, think about that in terms of what are the steps we can take now in order to move the project forward, and really try and be as comprehensive about this as possible. And if possible, talk about how you're going to engage with the community that you're trying to impact as part of that process. Again, that will ensure that you're adhering to that human-centered design process. As far as impact, and this is getting to the end here in terms of the presentation. Again, if you look back at the Sustainable Development Goals and you just look at the different goal areas, and if you can, you go a little bit further, each of those goals has targets. There's a list of targets that people have within each of those goal areas. And those targets sometimes can give you a sense of how other people are thinking about impact. and those targets are going to be at a national level, like because they've been developed for countries. But if you can think about how you might contribute to that at a local level, then that's a way for you to be a little more specific about impact. But in general, what you really want to do here is you want to look at how your particular solution is going to positively impact the targeted learners that you've identified in a way that's going to help them realize their full potential, or ensure they're not going to be left behind in terms of different inequities, economic, social inequities that vulnerable and marginalized populations are faced with, or dealing with impact that's more general, as I mentioned at the beginning, for a youth audience or for a senior audience, in terms of how they are being provided with learning and education opportunities so they can realize their full potential. So if you go through the process and you think about those questions and that general framework that I provided, that's the key from my standpoint anyways, of then using your creativity, your innovative approaches and your lived experiences and research to be able to come up with really meaningful solutions that can take you to the next stage. And at that point, I'm going to leave the presentation, and I know we're going to go to Q&A. I haven't seen what questions there might be, but I'm happy to address any questions that people have that have arisen from this or in general that people have.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for this very clear and insightful presentation, John. I think, yeah, you basically mentioned everything we need to know about the challenge and even more. So yeah, I hope we're going to have some very also interesting questions from the attendees. I can see that Paola, I really loved the quote you mentioned, "Nothing about us without us," which also resonates a lot with me. I think it makes a lot of sense, and we do have to express that kind of empathy and have that like human-centric approach whenever we deal with a problem or with a problematic like the one we're having on the challenge. So it also makes me think about the design thinking method, which is all about putting the user at the middle of the thinking. And so I think it could be a good approach also to tackle the different problematics of the context of the challenge, sorry. But again, yeah, thank you very much for this presentation. And before moving on to the Q&A part of the session, I'm just going to share my screen and show very briefly the platform in itself, because most of you are already participating in the competition, but some of you are not. So just for those people, I'm going to share my screen and show how to find the different resources on the platform, and also very quickly how to create your profile and find other teammates. So please let me know once you can see my screen. Should be okay now. Can you see my screen? Yes, all right. So welcome to the Reimagine Learning and Education in Our Communities platform. So this is the main banner. You can find all the main information at the top. So the name, the number of people per team. So we said 2 to 5 people, the number of days left until the next deadline. Before scrolling down and seeing all the content and the main menu, so you can see we have that big button, participate. So if you're not participating just yet, you can click there. If you don't have a profile just yet, you will first have to create an account, so create a profile on the platform, and then you will be able to participate. So to create your profile, you can either click that button or go at the top of the page and click here on create an account. So I'll show you very quickly. See, just 4 questions. You agree to the terms of services, and you can already start navigating on the platform. So back to it. Now that I'm on the platform, just that most of you already know, so I won't spend too much time on it. So here were the different banners to attend today's event. And all right, so here at the top, we can see the main menu with the different pages where you will find all the information about the challenges. So not only the context, but also the different resources, the discussion wall when you can ask all your questions at any time during the competitions, and also the Teams matchmaking tool, which allows you to either create your own team and find teammates with diverse skills, or join an already existing team. Right. So yes, by default, when you go on the page, you will land on the brief. page. So that page just allows you at a quick glance to understand to have basically an overall view of what's happening in that challenge. So all the information that John just gave us in even more details, you can find everything on that page, more information about the Sustainable Development Goals, the approach of Sheridan College, and your mission, what you have to do in the scope of that challenge. Also a bit more information about the different awards. Then if you click on the second page, which is about the challenge details, more information about, so again, the dates, what you have to submit by March 31st. So again, an 8 to 10 slide PowerPoint presentation using the presentation template. So your question could be, where can I find that presentation template? So once you create an account and you participate in the challenge, you will have access to a workspace. And in that workspace, you will be able to find the template that you can simply download and then modify as you see fit. In that workspace, you will also be able to discuss directly with your teammates, and we have a video conference tool directly integrated into the platform, so you can even chat with them live with your video. So exactly like we're doing right now.
And can I just add something? There is, sure. In the resources, we have the template also.
On the resources?
So when you resources, you can find the template also to download.
All right, so on the resources, so now let's jump on the fourth page, resources and FAQ. Thank you very much, Lisa. You can find the toolkit for the inspiration stage, the self-help and facilitators guide, the ideation state presentation template, so exactly what Lisa was mentioning right now, and the results also, and some information about the previous stage, which was the inspiration stage. So as you can see, there are already loads of resources available on the platform. So even before, let's say you have a question, before asking your question on the discussion wall that I'm going to show in a second, you can already check if your question has not been asked by someone else previously. And on top of that, you can see, many different resources that will allow you to either kickstart your project or develop it even further. Right, so if you scroll down, you can see loads of resources. So make sure to look at those information before submitting your project. So more information about the awards, but I leave a bit of surprise on that end. You can click on that page and find out more about the different awards you can get. So again, not much teasing, but there are more than $50,000 of prizes to be won, and the 5 best teams will get $10,000 each on top of other prizes, and of course, mentoring throughout the competition. There you can find more information about Sheridan College and the different sponsors. So the discussion wall, I think you have to be logged in exactly to access it. So I won't be able to access it right now, but there you can find all the questions that have been asked and also all the answers, of course, coming from people from Sheridan College, but also administrators from Agorize, and our very own Lisa, which is present on the call right now. So now I just want to show that one last page, which is the Teams matchmaking tool I mentioned earlier. So on that page, if you go there, you can see all the teams that have already been created on that challenge. So just like, so you can see there are plenty of them already created. So let's say you or one of your friends just joined the challenge right now and you don't want to create your own team. What you can do is scroll through these different teams and find the one that's most relevant for you. So let's take an example. The first one, Bold Revival. Aditya, I don't think Aditya is here today on the call, but all right. So you have an image, the name of the team. You have a brief description of Aditya's project, what that person wants to achieve, and the different skills Aditya is looking for in her or his teammates. So awesomeness, okay, that's interesting. Creativity, and also 2 more skills, which you can see by clicking the button. So if you like Aditya's project and would like to join his or her team, you simply have to first send a message if you want to have more information, so you can easily chat with Aditya or directly apply to the team. Then Aditya will receive a message and will be able to let you in. So again, you can do that for any of those teams. And if you do not find a team that suits what you want to achieve, what you want to do in that competition, you can simply create your own team and do exactly the reverse process. So put all that information and people will apply to your team. Again, in your workspace, if you create your own team, you will be able to see all the participants who do not have a team just yet, and you can send them direct messages. So you can kind of scout teammates if you want to as well. Keep in mind that you have to be in teams of 2 to 5 people to participate. So if you join now on your own, there's no problem at all, because you can definitely use that tool and either create your own team or join a team, and you still have plenty of time to do so. Great. So that was all. I didn't want to spend too much time on the platform. So now I think we can move on to the Q&A parts of the session. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read through the chat and so ask the questions to either John, Lisa, or maybe myself. And then I also have some questions on the side that I received prior to the event that I will ask if they are not, if we don't have any more questions. So feel free to send all your questions right now. All the questions will be addressed. All right.
I'm going to dive right into the questions that I haven't answered yet on the chat. Nereya, she asked if, what did you mean? I think, John, during your presentation, you said your project must be sustained. And there were just some questions, if you could clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, that's separate from, you know, the discussion of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is a framework that can help you to develop your solution. But when people talk about a project being sustained, you know, part of that is looking at how it could be ongoing. Like if you have a project that you will require resources and it could only last for 3 months. You could only do it for 3 months, and then there's no way of continuing it. Then that's different than a project that, for example, you've thought about how you could start something and then be able to through the partnerships that you establish or through volunteers or you have some model of how you're going to be able to continue to do this, because if you're going to implement something, we ideally want to be able to sustain it, to be able to have it continue, and also, if possible, to grow. And growing doesn't mean that you're going to, you know, if you're serving 50 people, that you know 2 years from now you want to be able to serve 250. It means that you want to be able to sustain whatever your particular solution is in an ideal situation. So any information that you have on or any ideas you have on how you can do that would be helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that complete answer. So I think so. We have a question. I can see, Lisa, you already answered it, but I think it might be worth just stating it aloud again, and even for the recording, which is, do we have, so the question from Cecil, do we have to have participated in stage 1 to do stage 2? So meaning inspiration stage and then now the ideation stage. So do you want to answer that one, John?
Yeah, well, I can go. Oh, John, sorry.
Oh, no, please.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, we did have an inspiration stage, which originally we named stage 1, and then ideation stage, which we're in right now, which we named stage 2. But just to be very clear, the inspiration stage was kind of like a pre-challenge stage where we just wanted to identify some issues, some experience. We really just wanted to get some input that we can then use to share for the ideation stage and really to build the problem cases and the problem statements more clearly for the challenge itself. So just to answer your question, definitely you can participate if you haven't participated in the inspiration stage, and the ideation stage right now is open for everyone to join. And that's also why we changed some information on the platform to make it clearer right now. So we renamed it. We are not calling it stage 1, stage 2, and so on anymore, to make it a bit clearer. And we just put a banner to say that everyone can still register until 31st of March.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, if you go to the resources section, there is a document at the top that identifies some of the themes that they came out of the research and inspiration stage. There, you know, some of the ideas, some of the challenge areas that people identified came up more than once or twice. So we identified what was some key themes that came up. But your solution that you go forward with does not have to be something that's aligned with those themes. They simply give you some ideas if you wanted to use them as a way to think about challenge areas that you wanted to address. But definitely the process that you take, though, is still based on that idea. Like if you're just starting now as I said in the template, when I described the template, you still want to be, doing research, thinking about the community that you're solving for, to try and generate ideas from that. That again is something that's part of the human-centered design process. But definitely this is totally open to anybody who wants to join and submit by March 31st.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, also to add on to that, so again, the ideation stage is open until March 31st. So do not hesitate to share the information about that challenge with friends or even your network who might be interested in participating. This is really what we want to have, right? The greatest number of ideas, and also to see if we can create synergies between the different ideas, and then to tackle the different problem statements of the competition. So then next question, again, I can see, Lisa, you answered it, but I just want to say that, yes, the recording of the webinar will be available on the platform. So you can just watch it again whenever you want. About the size of the presentation, as John said, and as mentioned on the platform, it should be 8 to 10 slides. And you should be, you should aim at putting all the information in that number of slides. Now I received that.
Because sorry, Gregor, I think just to clarify, and in terms of file size, it should be below 50 MB.
Oh, okay. So yes, there's also that extra criteria below 50 megabytes. All right, so I received a question also from Jasmine, who said, so John, you mentioned the reference social enterprise. Can we get that link? Is there a link to this kind of resource on the platform?
I'm trying to remember whether there is something within the self-help and facilitators guide, but if you go to search for this social business canvas that I mentioned in the one slide, if you do a search for that, that will give you some information on how to construct a social enterprise at the level that you would need to at this stage. I mean, really, what you're with a social enterprise, it is an organization that has a social impact agenda, a certain impact it wants to have in a social, cultural, or environmental area, but also some source of revenue associated with that, which is as a secondary element. But if you do a search in terms of a social business model canvas, then the schematic that gives will give you enough information to be able to address that at this stage.
Great, thank you very much. Now we received another question. So thank you very much for sending all those questions, very interesting questions. Another question from Catherine. Will the entry also be judged by use of the Sheridan College Open Innovation Change platform, or can the team use whatever other digital platforms are available to it? Do you want to answer that one, Lisa?
We will definitely use the platform to vote, but then also, I mean, your team has to submit your project to the platform, and then the judges can see the project on the platform. That's essentially why we're using the platform, to actually collect the submissions and then be able to vote there and have an overview about everything that's happening.
Cool. And then next question from Nereja. I was able to get a mentor, but would I be able to contact another different mentor? I think may have some information too. So regarding mentors, so you will have a mentor on the platform on the second stage, the next stage of the competition. So someone you'll be able to interact with directly on the platform in your workspace. But I mean, now if you want to reach out to other people from your network that can help you in your project, then that's completely up to you. But you will have a dedicated mentor in the next step of the project.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we did do some check-ins with mentors for the ideation stage as well. And I think you were able to book slots and then talk to the mentors. So I'm not sure if you weren't able to book a slot, I don't think it will be possible to get in touch again with the mentor. John, correct me if I'm wrong. But as Grégoire was saying, you can reach out to anyone you want. So if you have if you're connected to that person, you can of course contact them as well to get some feedback. And then in the second stage, also you'll have some mentors.
Yes.
Sorry, the third stage, iteration stage. I get confused also.
Exactly. And so also I'm going to share my email address at the end of the session. So in case you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer all the questions you might have. Should they be like on the platform or about the projects themselves? Now we have another question from Samina. Can you add videos to the slides? And can we add a voiceover onto the slides? So Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can add a video directly on the slides or a voiceover. Maybe what you can do would be to include a link to like a video on YouTube on your slide. But then again, that would be external to the presentation itself. So
yeah, so I mean, this would kind of be a way to go around the limitation of 8 to 10 slides and just add some more information. So at this point, we shouldn't necessarily, I mean, if it's like something short, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that, that the judges can look into quickly, then that's fine. I think you can add something. Also, if you want to have the slides, I guess with the voiceover, you meant that you keep it running as a video and you have a voiceover. I think that's fine if you want to do that. The reason we're limiting it to the template and the 8 to 10 slides is just to make because the judges will have to go through a lot of projects, and that's why we want to keep it simple. And also we wanted to keep it simple for everyone to participate. I did want to address a couple of other questions because there were some questions of what should be used, how you can modify the slides and so on. So you should be using the template, but all you need to do is, actually I said before that you should keep the questions, but you can actually remove the questions. Just please keep the title so we know what title you're replying to. And of course the 2 slides that have the general information, and they also say delete the slide before, these ones you should delete. Then you can include images if you want, you can include text, you can, well, if you wanted to, you could include like a very short video, like a GIF or something like small. And then in total, it should be 8 to 10 slides of content. So the first page, for example, is not necessarily going to count. Also the team page, well, that's something, I mean, if you end up with 11 pages, but you have the team page, then that's fine as well. I think really 8 to 10 slides of content, and keeping, of course, the created titles.
Thank you very much for addressing those questions, Lisa. So now I can see, so we don't have any more questions in the chat right now, so I can address some of the questions that were sent prior to the event. And I think the first one is for you, John. So the question was, the template asks us to indicate which challenge problem we're providing a solution for. Can our project provide multiple challenge solutions? For example, how to solve the disruption issue, and also how people can reach their full potential?
Certainly. I mean, if what I'm understanding is you're talking about one solution that is having impact in multiple areas, then that's a way to describe your project. There's also, if I understand, there's also an opportunity to, if it's different solutions that you're creating, then also there can be different submissions. But definitely within a unique solution to have it addressing different problems is great.
Great. So now another question that I think directed to you would be, my understanding of the ideation stage is to provide concise solutions, yet the template asks us how will our solution be realized? So the question is, how in depth are you looking us to get in this stage? Like outline steps or include the full logistics?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. It's within the context of what you can do in the presentation format. You know, we are looking for you to be able to be as detailed as you can be within that format. So that is going to differ from obviously from one group to the next in terms of how far you can actually go within an implementation of this. I mean, there is, as we recognize, there is an iteration stage that's happening afterwards where you can further develop things. So I think what you're going to be doing is based upon the state you're in, the stage you're at within the development of your particular solution. Then you're going to be able to identify a different level of detail in terms of the steps that can be taken. So it's, don't stretch beyond what you can do based on where you're actually at within the solution that you're developing, but be as defined as you can in terms of the steps within that.
Great. Thank you very much for this answer, John. And I think I can see we're already getting to the end of the session. So I have one, okay. I can see one last question from Cecile in the chat, sorry. So I will address the last question I received prior to the event. And I think it's for you, Lisa. So this question was, our team was one of the top 3 teams from the previous stage, so the inspiration stage. Our focus is on helping students reach their full potential. So the question is, will project be posted publicly and require voting again?
No, so at this stage, the voting will be done just by our judges on the criteria that are displayed on the platform as well. Let me just quickly check because I don't know them by heart. So the criteria are creativity, impact, feasibility, and presentation. More details to those are also, you can also find them on the platform. So yeah, at this stage, there won't be any public voting, neither at the second stage. We'll have a public voting again, probably during the final maybe to have somebody also winning a public vote. But right now it will only be done by judges.
Great, thank you very much. And maybe the last question from Cecile. So is the deck a presentation deck or a reading deck? Meaning, what is the expected word count per page?
I mean, so I guess it should be more a presentation deck, not a reading deck. Of course, you'll have some more slides. It's more, well, actually, no, let me correct that. It should be a reading deck because you're not going to present to us, so you'll be reading it. But it shouldn't be like an essay. So of course we want to have images. We want to have it in a way that the judges can easily read it. So of course you will put more information than you would put if you would present it, because we're not going to hear you talking to it. So we need the information in written, but it shouldn't be a complete written text. Maybe put bullet points, put some images if you can. Yes, exactly. I don't know, John, if you want to add anything.
No, totally. It's for reading, and it's to get your point across. So I think what Lisa was saying, it doesn't have to be written as if it's a finished paper that someone's writing. It's getting that information on that slide so that we can understand what your answer is to those particular questions.
Great, thank you. So it is now the end of the Q&A session. Thank you so much first for attending the event, but also for sending all those interesting questions. Before wrapping up, I was wondering whether, John, maybe you had like some closing words for the attendees today and the people that would watch the recording afterwards. Yeah,
I guess just in general, like we're really excited by this area, as an institution. This is something that the challenge is the start of or a continuation of work that we've been doing and that we will do into the future. And I think that it's really important also when you think again of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, that currently they are part of an agenda that's something that countries and organizations across business, academic, community groups are all looking at how we can help to create social change that will achieve the goals and the targets that are referenced there. And I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to be able to have the challenge. So we're really grateful for people to participate and to learn and share with others based upon this experience, because we do believe that this is an ongoing challenge that all of us are going to have to address in the years ahead.
That's for sure. Well, thank you. All you have to say now is time to wrap the session. So once again, thank you very much, John. We appreciate you taking some of the time to participate in the session, to do that great presentation, and also to answer all the questions. So thank you very much. Thank you so much also, Lisa, for all your precious answers to the questions. And thank you to all of you for attending that session. So again, the recording will be available on the platform. So you will have the possibility to rewatch it afterwards. And in the meantime, I send my email address in the chat. So if you have any other questions or need help with your projects, please feel free to reach out. So now again, thank you very much to all of you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
No, it was me. I was interrupting. And no, I just wanted to say, as always, you can also reach out to us via the platform, just in the chat. If there's any further questions, of course, before the deadline. And also, I just wanted to thank you all for coming today and participating in the challenge. And best of luck for this ideation stage and for your submission.
Yeah, I wish everyone best of luck also, and really appreciate the fact that people are participating. Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone. Thank you again for attending the session today. And yeah, see you soon. So I'm going to end the session.
Bye now.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.